Welcome to City Council Chronicles. Somewhere out there, a city council meeting is happening, and you're not watching it, but I am. I'm Michael Carlick, and you're listening to the City Council Chronicles podcast. For City Council meeting reviews, visit councilchronicles.com. Last week, I reviewed the Schenectady, New York City Council meeting. And holy Lord, the public commenters were thicker than bears on a dumpster. Here's what one of them had to say. Quote, "What is an Uber? Is it generic? Is it a brand name? Is it a transitive verb? I'd like to know." The answer is car service. Uber is a car service. Also, since 2016 is now over, we at the Chronicles would like to pay a small tribute to the mayors and council members who retired last year with a 21-gun salute. Actually, we cannot fire guns in the studio. The last time Ira Glass complained about the bullet holes. So instead, my intern Tyler is going to bang on 21 pots and pans. All right, that's it. Okay, that's good, Tyler. Okay, thank you. On today's episode, I talked to John Taylor Chapman. Yes, the man who murdered John Lennon is on the podcast. What's that? That's Mark David Chapman? Oh. Can we try to get him on the podcast, please? Thank you. John Taylor Chapman is a city councilman in Alexandria, Virginia. He's a fan of bow ties, parliamentary procedure, and doing the people's business. We talked about a controversial incident early last year on the city council, and he gave me his honest reaction. So let's get to it. Episode 16. Stay tuned. The music is by bensound.com. Councilman, in August 2016, you retweeted an article from @National Bowtie Day. Now, according to that article, what is the one rule for wearing a bow tie?
Now you're making me think. I believe that it needs to be a real bow tie that you tie. I'm not a big fan of pre-tied bow ties. And that's my rule number one. I hope that's the same one.
That is the rule. You need to tie it yourself. Very good.
Good.
As a bow tie aficionado, how did you first learn to tie one?
I hate to say it, but I've told a number of people, so it's public information now. But I think it took me about 25 minutes of watching YouTube videos after I bought my first bow tie.
Uh-huh.
I was determined to wear it that day and be able to tie it myself. I didn't have anybody else teach me, so I went directly to YouTube, watched a series of videos that just walked me through it, and then kept trying to tie it and redoing it until kind of my arms got tired, and I felt comfortable with it. So that kind of started me down a long dark road to wearing bow ties.
Well, there's no shame in going to YouTube for advice from viral videos. I mean,
very true.
40 years from now, we won't even have parents. Kids will just be raised by a series of memes and cat videos.
That's probably true.
Now, let me run a couple scenarios by you. Say you're going to a city council meeting, and there's going to be a big public hearing about downtown redevelopment, okay? Maybe 50 people are going to be there. What bow tie do you wear for that?
Most likely, I have a red bow tie. I actually have three different red bow ties. One that is a plain, solid red one.
Okay.
That's my go-to. And then I have a couple of ones that has polka dots on it and one that has stripes. So one of those three usually makes the rounds.
Okay, nice. Now, suppose there is a Boy Scout troop coming to the meeting and they want a picture with you. What bow tie do you wear?
So I have some other ones if I don't have on the red. My next go-to is I have a crop of blue bow ties. So I'll try to match it up with one of either a gray suit or a blue suit that I have, and hopefully look respectable.
All right, blue, a more masculine color. Gotcha. Now, let's say that an asteroid has hit Alexandria. The mayor and the other council members are dead. You have to carry on the work of the city council, and everyone else is a zombie. What bow tie do you wear?
So I used to, and seems like we're getting into the hypothetical. I used to have a bow tie with the seal of the city imprinted as the pattern on it. And if that were the case, I would summon my powers to get that one and wear that one.
Oh, the seal of the city. Okay. So it's kind of like being on the moon. You got to plant your flag as the only survivor.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I've never asked anyone this question before, even though it seems kind of obvious, which is, what is the point of city council meetings?
The point of the city council meetings is to look over the policy, look over some of the planning and budget implementation. We also hear about new policies and procedures being put in and instituted by staff and get to sign off on those. At some of our longer meetings, our planning meetings, we talk about the planning process as well as redevelopment.
Now, you are in your second term on the city council. You are fairly active on social media. And recently, someone in the audience had this to say about you at a council meeting. Let me play it for you.
Don't talk to staff. Why don't y'all get out into the public and see what people are complaining about? Chapman, he seen the pictures didn't do it no justice. You remember, we went to Goat Hill, and he took care of it.
When someone at a city council meeting calls you out for doing a good job, how important is that to you, that they're doing it in front of your colleagues?
Honestly, I think it's one of the best feelings that somebody on city council can have is whenever you are recognized for work that you're doing, especially when it's not passive work. I mean, being on social media, as you know, is kind of passive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as active as some might think or some might feel. But actually, with this gentleman, he invited me out to his house, and behind his house, he had a small hill that had not been tended to by our rec department. And he had been talking to staff about that for quite some time. And so he invited me out, and I came out. He actually invited a number of us out, and I think I was the first one to come out, or maybe the only one to come out. But I came out and talked to him, and walked the property with him, and talked about what could be done, and then reached back out to staff to see how quickly we could get that done. And that's what he's talking about. And I think being recognized for reaching out and getting down and working directly with folks is what I think our job is really all about.
Yeah, I can understand the validation that you get from being praised like that. But on the other hand, if someone is standing up at a council meeting and criticizing you 6 ways from Sunday, would you ever think to yourself, well, if all you're going to do is ream me out, I might just not vote for the thing you want me to vote for? I mean, do you think that ever comes into play?
I think it can happen. I try not to do that. I do try to look at whatever perspective that person is coming from. I've been reamed out by people, whether it's in a council meeting or on the street. And so, getting past people's emotional point and kind of getting to the real point of their angst, I think is really what should matter when it comes to looking at an issue or topic. If they're complaining, this gentleman, when he spoke, and say it wasn't me, say I was one of the other council members, he's reaming them out about not reaching out to him.
Mm-hmm.
His angst is that he wants somebody to reach out to him and actually work with him, and I think that is a legitimate point.
Is there any mistake that you see public commenters commonly make that makes them less effective when they're talking to the council, like name-calling or unwarranted anger toward you guys?
I hate to criticize folks that come and speak because I think they speak on the level that they want to speak on.
Okay.
And so I think it's really for us as council members to take their words and into mind and try to get to the point they're trying to make, regardless of the emotions that they have. I think the emotions unfortunately can cloud a conversation, but that happens regardless of people's position or titles or wherever. I mean, 2 individuals getting in a fight might have legitimate points, but if the emotions get the best of them, they're not going to kind of solve that problem.
Oh, yeah. I got married a couple months ago, so believe me, I know all about that.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, boy. Okay, so last September, you shared an article on Facebook. It was titled The 4 Bad Habits to Avoid at City Council Meetings. So 2 of those habits are procedural, and the other 2 bad habits are abuse of power by the chair and allowing a few council members to dominate the meeting. Now, when it comes to Alexandria City Council meetings, what kind of behavior do you see there that frustrates you?
I think I know I suffer from this from time to time. We do have folks that like to talk.
Yeah.
Whether it's sharing stories. I think stories are good to follow up on and follow up with points. But I think there can be a point where there's too much storytelling and not enough direct decision making. And so I think from time to time, a number of us on council suffer from that. Okay.
So all talk and no action is what it boils down to?
Or not as much action as there should be, and there's too much talk.
Okay, gotcha. I want to take you back to February 20th, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
You and the rest of the city council are in the chamber, and there is a robust public hearing about a proposed affordable housing development. Now, it's a complex issue, and I'm simplifying here, but you were in favor of the affordable housing, and Mayor Allison Silberberg was opposed. Let me play you this clip of an exchange between you and the mayor.
So how is that process not broken on our side, on this body's side? I didn't want to bring that up, but that in terms of process, that's not right.
I have to respond.
It's just not
Councilman
right.
Chapman, I can appreciate your frustration. What I was missing in the discussion from ARHA, frankly, were the numbers.
Oh, I'm missing the point. I think you, ma'am, and I'll be quiet because I know we need to move on to other matters, but I think you missed the point. I think it's not about you, working with Roy. It's about you working with us to work with staff, to work with commissioners. This is a joint run government.
Councilman Chapman, let me just respond. The meeting, if I can finish, I show you respect, and I expect the same, sir. And let me just finish to say that we do work together. But your anger towards me in this situation, I think is, and I say this with all due respect, is truly misplaced.
How strongly do you have to feel about something for you to bring it up in public at a city council meeting?
So I think and I'll take this, kind of flesh out this example. I think with the mayor being new to her position, I'm not sure if, and this is kind of, I'll give you the background of where I was coming from. I don't think the mayor fully understood how best to reach out and handle certain situations and information gathering that she wanted to do. As we were talking about the missteps that this housing authority had taken, I wanted her to be aware that she had made missteps in how we reach out to that community, so that we can't say that we're doing everything 100% correct and everybody else is doing everything wrong when that's the case.
Well, there is a difference between telling her something in private or sending an email.
There definitely is.
And then saying it in front of the whole city at a council meeting. Did you walk into that meeting knowing you were going to criticize the mayor?
No, I didn't. I wanted to be focused on the issue, but I think I got to a point where her, and if you watch the film, her and others were criticizing the authority like we hadn't done anything wrong. And that to me was out of line, especially coming from her, and the fact that she had done things the wrong way. We can't sit here as elected officials and say everybody's doing the wrong thing except for us.
Yeah.
There was no responsibility taken by her on that issue. As you heard, she talked about my misplaced feelings and missed the issue of transparency, frankly, an issue that she had previously run on that wasn't being had. To have a secret meeting with staff without talking to the appointed folks that we had selected for that board was a big misstep, especially when an issue is as contentious as it was.
Yeah, and like I said, this was very complicated, and you've been on boards, you've been on civic associations, the Young Democrats. You know how groups are supposed to decide things. But at one point during this meeting, council members were not sure that the vote they took meant what they thought it meant. And I want to roll this clip of council members just trying to figure out what they did.
The fact is, if we want to pass the master plan amendment, let's just do that. And if we don't, let's not do that, and not bother with this, because I don't think it's I don't know what we're accomplishing.
Okay.
I don't know what we're accomplishing here.
I'm now persuaded, Madam Mayor. I'm now persuaded that I'm willing to withdraw the master plan amendment, but now I'm concerned that currently we have passed the master plan.
Well,
as part of the last motion.
I would be willing to make a motion to reconsider to allow us to break it all apart so that everyone can feel great about themselves. But I just don't know what we're accomplishing here. I really don't.
Okay, I'm just trying to get us out of a procedural thicket.
That's right.
So, how about if we vote on the zoning? That may help us move along.
Madam Mayor, you can't vote on the zoning. You have to have approved the master plan in order to vote on the zoning.
How often do you walk away from a council meeting and feel uneasy about what just happened?
Not that often, honestly. I do think that staff puts together the docket well, and it's well understood by every member of council. And the decisions that we have to make are pretty straightforward. I think they can take, depending on the issue, and as you've seen in this video, certain issues can take a interesting turn. And I think but that's not. I would like to say that that's not common, and I don't think you'd see that on a common basis from council.
Well, It is February 23rd, 3 days later. The city council has another meeting. Councilman Paul Smedberg, who, along with the mayor, killed the original affordable housing project, had a change of heart.
Madam Mayor, I was, no one won on Saturday. I mean, it was that much of a disaster. And, the vitriol I'm seeing on, Facebook and all this other stuff is just as outrageous. With some of that said, I just want to put a motion on the table that we rescind what we did on Saturday, and we can all take a deep breath. We can all reset.
Here's the city attorney.
And Madam Mayor, if I could add, actually, I had I try to be prepared on a number of different respects, and I anticipated that this question might arise, and so I took the liberty of doing the research early, and this was one of the possible things that I researched and prepared a memorandum on. And so when Councilman Smedberg came to me, I had already had the research prepared.
And is it our practice not to share it with all members of council at that time, sir? If you had this prepared and could have even sent it to us at 5 p.m., and let the record show that I am not pleased, frankly, that the city attorney did not inform all of us.
So, Councilman Smedberg asked the city attorney for advice. The city attorney gave it to him. The mayor is a little irritated with Smedberg, but visibly angry at the city attorney for not telling her about the Smedberg situation. When you listen to this, who is correct? Is it the mayor for wanting to know about this plan before the meeting? Is it Councilman Smedberg for waiting until the last minute? Or is it the city attorney for keeping his research confidential?
So let me try to tackle each one of those. I think I don't think that the mayor is correct in her. It might be her opinion, but I don't think she's necessarily correct in it. To motion to rescind is to pull back something from a previous meeting, but the motion to reconsider is to do it at that same meeting. I started to look at Robert's rules a little bit more deeply and make sure I knew many of the motions that we could do. And so I was aware of this opportunity, and I was hoping that it would be done. Obviously, I was not one of the people to vote no, so I didn't have the power to do it. But in to be able to do that and know that that opportunity exists, it should not have been a surprise to anybody on council. And so for the mayor to say, this is something that, should have been brought to me, I don't agree either to that, because I don't believe I believe I have a choice. If I want to, I can tell every council member what I'm going to do before I do it. But also they have to be prepared in case I don't. I think a lot of those, especially when in a case as controversial as this, I don't think that taking stuff to other council members, whether it be me or the mayor or any other member of council per se, necessarily would have been the most transparent thing. And so I believe Councilmember Smedberg was correct in kind of doing this the way he felt most comfortable doing. I believe in the case of the city attorney, he's had to play parliamentarian to our group as he's had to get the new mayor comfortable in her shoes and talk to others about some of the motions and processes and procedures that we do. So I don't think he somehow had a magic ball that this was going to happen, even though it may sound like that. I think in preparing to deal with the council as we kind of work things out in the few months of a new mayor, he was prepared for anything, and he's kind of shown that in subsequent meetings and things like that. So I don't think that was at any way out of the norm. He's even gone to the standpoint where for some meetings, I know we've had a list of Robert's rules in front of us. I don't think that's ever been done for a council before because they're supposed to know that. But, he's gone to that extent too. And so for him to be ready to do that, that's doing his job.
Let's listen to one more clip. It starts out with you, then we hear from the mayor, and then Vice Mayor Justin Wilson.
Mr. Chapman.
I just want to be very clear with the public that's watching. What he did was to make sure that motion was legally acceptable. That's what any council member who wants to make a motion that we don't regularly use would do. If he's doing his homework and research on a parliamentary procedure, that is his business. To say that he had to share something is frankly not sitting right with me, and I think I would be mad at myself if I did not share that here in this meeting.
Councilman Chapman. I am not necessarily being critical of my good friend and longtime friend, Mr. Smedberg, but I think it would have behooved our city attorney, frankly, to have shared it with us as a consideration. Vice Mayor Wilson.
And I would suggest that everyone on this body should have the decency and I believe the accountability that if we have a criticism of staff, we address that at the appropriate time and place. And this is not the appropriate time and place to do that, Madam Mayor.
Well, I appreciate your words, Vice Mayor Wilson, but I respectfully disagree.
What do you think about what she said?
I think it brings on a very bad vibe for the city overall when you do that, when you criticize staff. And I don't think any of us up there. I think there are a couple of us up there that have done it, and it leaves your staff feeling dejected. It really does. Not because they necessarily did something wrong, because you've gone out of your way to embarrass them in public.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens when we do that. I've tried to, and I've learned lessons from not only myself but others to try to not do that. And, if I can pull staff aside beforehand to talk about an issue or kind of not make it as controversial, or ask staff to fix something, I will, so that they can get it right when we bring it to the public. Because we're supposed to be one team, city council members and city manager and his staff, hopefully doing the right thing for citizens, and not do as much infighting as we've done in the past. So I do think that was an incorrect sentiment to have. Obviously, it's her opinion, and she's welcome to it. But I don't think we get quality staff in Alexandria, and frankly, keep quality staff in Alexandria, if we take on a culture where we are bemoaning everything staff does and belittling them in public.
Yeah. That was back in February. Do the council meetings run any more smoothly now?
I would hesitate to say yes. I do think we do still a little bit more story time, and I'm, like I said, I'm sometimes a abuser of that opportunity as well, because we do want to connect with the citizens that are watching and want to see government. They want to. Sometimes we think that an issue might have gone over someone's head, so we try to bring it down to a way that we think people are going to understand. But sometimes that boils down to telling one too many stories, and trying to relate too much when the point has been made. And so I think as we hopefully get to a place where we don't feel like we need to do that, and we can stick to just policy making and being direct with what we're doing, we'll get to a better place.